Welcome to Living Abundantly with Sarah V. I am so grateful to be here with all of you today. At Living Abundantly, we believe that true manifestation begins within. That's why each inspiring guest shares their powerful story and remarkable vision. And if they can do it, so can you. I am your host and your friend, Sarah V., an international 3-time best-selling author and lifestyle design expert. And I am on a personal mission to inspire abundance through all of life's ups and even the downs. So before I introduce my next amazing guest, someone who guided me through my discomfort, and I want to say, here I go again, and I'm going all in for all of you. This is a reminder about the bold new series focused on leaning into discomfort. It's a celebration of personal growth, and I will be stretching myself to embrace the fears that make me feel uncomfortable. Each episode will showcase my journey of trying new things, from the exhilarating to the downright intimidating. My goal is to inspire you to recognize how discomfort can often be the pathway to growth and living an abundant life. This time, I stretched myself at age 61 by experiencing a very intimate boudoir photo shoot. What was my fear? Feeling judged by others. Well, let me tell you, I am on the other side of the now, and boy, did it spark something inside of me. Please welcome Jillian McQuerrey, a Maryland-based boudoir photographer dedicated to empowering women through intimate, tasteful imagery. Her work has been featured in HuffPost, People, Today, and so many more. She is a proud feminist, a romantic, and a true believer in the power of self-love and acceptance. Oh my gosh, Jill, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sarah. It's so nice to be here.
Oh my gosh. So I have had hundreds of branding photo shoots, but this experience was completely different. Can you kind of share a little bit about the me before and then, when I arrived at your studio, and how the session kind of shifted me afterwards?
Yeah, for sure. I will say you were very nervous. You were texting me about like incorporating comedy into your boudoir session, which I was just like, I'm just not going to answer that, and we're going to talk in person. Um,
Yeah.
you were, apprehensive, which every female that comes through my doors is very nervous because you don't really know what you're getting into. You see the result whenever I post things on the website or online or
Yes.
anything. They're like, oh, those are beautiful photographs, but you don't see yourself coming in and doing that. So you come in very nervous because you're, having an experience you never thought you would, put yourself into, where a lot of women don't, or fear, I guess, the thought of somebody taking their photograph, let alone taking their photograph in something like lingerie or,
Yes.
something other than clothing. But then you came in, you did the shoot, you
Mhm.
nailed it. It was amazing. And it was very collaborative. Like we worked together. You put in
Yes.
so much stuff and I had some things, and it was really
Yes.
cool to work together and figure out what you were going to
Yes.
wear. And then once you
Oh,
were done and saw what we had done, I feel like you came out on the other side a little more loving because you saw the images completely
yes.
unretouched. And
Right.
so seeing them unretouched and just as you are, it was very eye-opening to see, oh, I really do look like that.
There is a misconception that boudoir is just for, a certain type of person. And I've loved listening to the stories that you told me about some women that have come in. But how do you challenge those stereotypes through your work? Because, you've had cancer survivors, you've had older women. So how would you answer that?
I mean, it's one of those things where, every boudoir photographer has their style. I feel like my style is not geared towards, I guess, the exterior gaze. I want you to see yourself the way you should see you, not through the eyes of society looking at you like, oh, you need to be this kind of sexy. And it's like, no, this can be any kind of taking back your femininity and taking back who, you once were. And I have so many clients that come in and they're like, I don't look like I did when I was 20 or 30. I'm like, girl, none of us do.
We're not supposed to. Yeah.
No.
So, I honestly don't think, I could have done this if you hadn't made me feel as comfortable, and I have to add, as beautiful, as I felt in the studio. But feeling that ease with your photographer
Mhm.
is paramount. How do you help your clients feel confident and comfortable in front of the camera, especially if they've never done anything like this before?
I would say 99% of my clients have never done this before. So I think it's you like hold their hand and walk them through it, because if you just like weddings, I mean, it's one of those things where it's a very high stress situation. And if you can hold their hand and walk them through these poses and the motions and explain to them each pose and then show them what you're shooting. Because if you see, early on, I'm like, look at this shot. And then you immediately are like, oh, that does look good.
Before we wrap, I always ask one last
Yeah.
question. What would you say is your abundant word that best describes your life today, maybe connected to your photography?
Fulfilled.
Fulfilled. Yeah. Oh, I
Yes.
love that.
Well, I found some
Good answer.
Yeah, well, I found something that, I mean, I love, photography in general. I love
Yeah.
connecting with people, but this is something that's at a
Right.
completely different level. I'm helping
Yeah.
women in general find something that they thought they had lost or
This is so, oh my gosh, this
yeah.
is so important, and I totally recommend it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much again for joining us and helping me get over this discomfort. And thank you for sharing your passion.
Thank you, Sarah. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. We'll be right back, so stay where you are. Welcome back. Our next incredible guest, Randy Lyman, is known as the purpose-driven leader and is the author of the newly released book, The Third Element. Randy blends decades of business experience with a deep commitment to emotional intelligence, spiritual grounding, and transformational leadership. Randy's mission is to help others heal, lead, and live with purpose. Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. I absolutely love the connection where vulnerability becomes our strength rather than our weakness. And I know you talk a lot about that in your book. Can you share with us your book?
Well, the book really covers how this missing link to manifesting and creating a better life is our emotions. We're always
Yes.
educating ourselves and working hard so we'll feel good, but we turn off our feelings.
Yes.
And it turns out that, yes, the law of attraction does respond to our thoughts and our actions,
Yes.
but more importantly, it responds to our unhealed emotional wounds.
Yes.
So if we have something from the past that God says, hey, I want you to feel better, I'm going to remind you of this opportunity to heal.
Yes.
It does it in the way of gifts that look like irritation. So what it really comes down to is all the challenges in our life that irritate us, that cause turmoil. Most of those relate back to, in my experience, 100%.
Yes.
Most of those for most
And me.
people
Yeah.
relate back to emotional wounding we didn't let go of.
So would you say that, in your book, you kind of reveal those unhealed emotions can actually secretly shape our reality?
Well, law of attraction is obligated to respond to those, is obligated to give us the
Yes.
opportunity to heal. And the challenge is, if we don't make the correlation between the pain and the suffering and the irritation in our life today in real time
Right.
back to the original wound we're hanging on to subconsciously.
Right.
And if we're not able to make that connection, then we just get irritated at the present and we give our power away instead of
Yes.
realizing that we can change ourselves.
So I love that, because I know for me, my thoughts, that the thoughts that were not real were the energy that I was then transmitting out into the universe, if you will. So it was just the wrong energy. So can you explain how this concept applies to, leadership and, the corporate culture? How does it affect that?
Well, if we jump to leadership, when a leader shows up, their energy enters the room before they do.
Oh, yes.
So if I show up and I'm worried, I'm tense, I'm concerned, people feel that. And when people feel that, then they protect themselves and they don't show up 100%.
Right.
So if they see me as a leader show up completely calm and confident and vulnerable, meaning I'm completely authentic. I'm not putting on extra face to cover my own challenges or act like I'm more important. And I can share some of my own failures.
Right.
I can share some of my own fears. And if I do that from a place of confidence and people look at me and say, wow, this person is vulnerable and they're still calm and confident, they must be really strong inside.
Can you share what, initially sparked, your shift? Because it's a big leap, to pure, from purely logical approach to one that embraces emotional intelligence, because it's a big leap, like I said.
It's a huge leap. It's a
Yeah.
180-degree shift in my approach to the world.
Yeah.
So in 1989, at the age of 28, I met a woman named Maria.
Yeah.
We spent 3 years together, and she helped me see the human, emotional, spiritual side of life.
Okay.
And because I was so enamored by her and so attracted to her, and we had a great relationship, like say for many years, she was steeped in the spiritual world and I was stuck in science, but they both look at the energy of realities. Physics is all about the energy of the physical world. And in spirituality, we're talking about our energy and the way we vibrate emotionally, intellectually, our body, etc. So through that common thread of energy, she kind of drew me into that world. And once I started learning and applying what I was learning to my business just flourished.
Amazing.
It grew 30 times.
That's amazing. So now that you have embraced emotional awareness in your personal life, because I believe it really starts there, what would you say is one abundant word that best describes your life today, your personal life?
Peace.
Peace. Yes. Doesn't it feel good?
Yes. At first I was afraid of it because I thought, God, if I don't have the excitement, life's going to be boring.
Right.
Turns out it's not at all.
There's excitement and peace. Yes.
So, there is.
So I love, this was really, really fascinating. And I know I get my own copy. I love this, but this has been so powerful and, a really enlightening conversation. And I thank you so, so much for sharing your wisdom with us here today.
Oh, you're welcome, Sarah. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
You're so welcome. Stay right where you are. We will be right back. New and older self-love.
I'm not sure if I was supposed to put like anything else in.
My goal is to bring laughter to everybody.
Well, listen, a lot of times when people hear the word disability, they have a negative connotation to it due to the stigma.
Yes.
I'm out here showing people, listen, look at how fabulous I am. This could be you. Is that no matter who you are, you can make the best of your life.
My next guest story is truly inspirational, and I have been so looking forward to speaking with her. Debra Wallace is an award-winning journalist, content provider, editor, motivational speaker, and autism expert. She enjoys using her communication skills to improve the lives of children and adults with autism and other special needs. She most importantly is the loving mother of her remarkable autistic son, Adam, who has grown her heart and taught her kindness, patience, and the power of positivity. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming and talking about this today, Debra.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You are welcome. So the subject of autism, it really fascinates me. They are unique human beings who perhaps think differently, than, what society thinks is normal. And I am sure you have witnessed the box that society puts these incredible humans in. Can you please, share with us and talk about the nevers? I love that you heard from experts after your son was diagnosed with autism. And, how did you actually react to that? Because I understand the nevers.
Well, he was diagnosed at about 2.5. He wasn't hitting his marks and developmentally in terms of speech and other things. And I heard from leading neurologists and developmental pediatricians and therapists and caseworkers that he was never really going to be able to talk beyond mom, dad, cookie, ball.
Wow.
That he was never going to go to a public school and take typical classes.
Yes.
There just wasn't, the future was looking very bleak.
Right.
And they just used, brain damage and threw out a lot of words. And we didn't agree. My late husband and I said, you're wrong. And we'll find people who, with love and with kindness, and we're going to find the right speech therapy and the other therapies that he needs. And they were wrong. He's graduating from high school in June. He's the most talkative person with autism you'd ever want to meet.
I love that. There's a lot of talk, podcasts and things. There's the telepathy tapes. They dismiss the idea that people with autism don't know how to learn. So of course you have dismissed that. And there are millions of families affected by autism in some way. What would you say is your best advice that you can give to parents of children and adults with autism?
First of all, realize that this journey, and it really never ends, whether the child is verbal or not verbal, into adulthood, is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's definitely not linear.
Yes.
And it's different from maybe a neurotypical child.
Right.
With patience, with love and kindness and the right supports from family, from friends. If you're not in my wagon, then get out of my wagon. It really takes people who want to understand our children, want to love our children, and not jump to putting them in these boxes.
Right.
Appreciating
the labels too.
Right.
Yeah. So I've heard so many amazing things about your son. You can recap them. He's going to college. He just did a play. Is that what I hear?
Yes, he was in the high school musical. It's like his 5th one.
Wow.
He was in Mamma Mia.
Wow.
And he danced a little, he sang a little, he acted a little.
I love that.
My friends and his friends who graduated, they all flocked to see him and write encouraging notes and, meet them where they are.
I love that. So we really can't do this journey, whether you are, taking care of an autistic child or whatever. We can't do this alone.
No.
So we flourish when we feel supported. So how can, family and friends and your community support, our loved ones with autism?
Promote inclusion. Don't tell me at the school level or the community level, well, that program just doesn't have a special needs or an autism component.
Right.
Find one, make one. If it's a 20-hour course, let's see if we can massage it or change it or do it over a little bit more time. It's starting to happen in the community colleges and the colleges. Their offices of developmental disability and other things. They're helping a little bit. They're understanding that they might need a tutor or a mentor, but everybody just needs to appreciate our children and adults with autism, love them, be kind to them, and don't jump to conclusions.
Right. But it also comes from you. And I just want to express my support for you because it's coming from you. All this, his flourishing is coming from, not just from you, but also the community. So as we wrap here, I just love this subject, but what would you say is one abundant word you can share that describes your life as maybe as a caregiver to your incredible, beautiful, unique son?
More than one word.
Okay,
A thrilling roller coaster ride. Thrilling. Just up and down and up and down.
Yes.
And I never liked roller coasters before I had them. But you just buckle up and you know you're going to have the time of your life, and there's going to be some twists and turns.
What a great attitude towards that, because, you know, the up and down roller, that is, and I got to change it to phrase rather than word, because I love that. So thank you so much for sharing your story, you know, with all of us. And thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a sheer pleasure.
You're welcome. We will be right back, so don't go away. Welcome back. True abundance starts from within, I always say, and it begins with how we nourish our bodies. Food, health, and wellness aren't just about restriction or routine. They're about celebrating vibrant living, fueling ourselves with intention, and embracing the joy of feeling good every single day. So I have two of my favorite products here. As a proudly female-founded and operated business, Delicious is on a mission to redefine the cookie dough experience by creating the ultimate snackable treat. Focused on better-for-you ingredients and sustainable practices, the brand brings a fresh perspective to the frozen snack category. Delicious frozen cookie dough and gelato bites are certified gluten-free, free from added refined sugars and white bleached flour, and contain no artificial additives or preservatives. And each bite has only 100 calories or less per serving and comes in classic flavors like chocolate chip, chocolate truffle, cinnamon churro, chocolate raspberry, and these snacks are carefully crafted and produced at the brand's facility in London, England, available at retailers like Target, Fresh Direct, Whole Foods, and Wegmans. As the leading mushroom coffee brand, Rise is revolutionizing the coffee industry with a healthy take on your beloved ritual. Their flagship products combines organic coffee and Rise's Super 6 organic mushroom blend, crafted to boost mental clarity, deliver smooth, natural energy, support digestion, and strengthen immunity, all without the jitters or crash. Every Rise product features mushrooms that are certified organic, sustainably grown in the USA, and rigorously tested for quality and potency. Their lineup features other blends, including mushroom matcha, nighttime hot cocoa, mushroom chai, caffeine-free mushroom chicory, and superfood creamer, all created to elevate everyday wellness. Shop at risesuperfoods.com and feel good knowing 1% of every purchase supports Mindfulness First, a nonprofit teaching mindfulness practice to K-12 students. I have even more tips when we come back, so don't go away. What do you think readers can expect next?
This first book is about creating inner wisdom for financial success. So it's
Toothpillow solves for access, because when a parent starts to look for attention for their child who's mouth breathing, what we did with Toothpillow was build a model to treat the children remotely.
Can you get a little bit deeper into perhaps what's in the book?
So the menstrual phase is like our inner winter time. So kind of think of that. What would you like?
Welcome back. So thrilled to introduce my next guest, Sean Kanan. Sean is an Emmy-winning producer and actor best known for his current work on Netflix Cobra Kai. I have to say I love that show. And CBS The Bold and the Beautiful. He is redefining what it means to have it all, and I'm going to add Hollywood style. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining me, Sean.
Thank you, Sarah.
Let's just kind of jump right in, because I know that you've written a book, and I'm just loving that you've written this book. It's a relationship book with your wife, The Way of Cobra Couples. which
Way to cover
offers
couples.
two perspectives about relationships. Can you kind of share with our viewers what that actually means? And, what are these origin stories?
Okay, well, really quickly, for anyone who's not familiar with the Way of the Cobra series of books, there's 3 of them. COBRA is an acronym. It stands for Character, Optimization, Balance, Respect, and Abundance. And in Way of the Cobra, these are the strategies and philosophy that I used to completely turn my life around. I was 50 pounds overweight. I was struggling with addiction. I was barely hanging on to a job. And I said, no more of this waiting for my ship to come in crap. I'm going to build the damn ship. I just had to figure out how to do it. And I built the ship. I lost the 50 pounds. I created a television show and won an Emmy. And I don't say any of that to try and impress anyone, just to impress upon you what's possible.
Yes.
So we all are familiar with the term origin story, probably from our love of superheroes, right? So your origin story is basically a thumbnail sketch that we all carry around with us of who we are and how we convey information. And it allows other people to very quickly ascertain and infer who we are. Why is it important? Well, you sit down on a date with somebody and you give them your spiel and they listen and go, okay, well, we got some commonalities here and this not so much, but I think this is worth going on a second date, and you listen to theirs. The problem is that we have refined our origin story and they are created through our own individual prism, and they aren't always accurate reflections of who we are. Everybody wants to be that shiny penny when you meet somebody new. And Michelle and I have a saying, it takes about 3 months for crazy to come out. People can hold it together for a while, but sooner or later, it comes through the cracks. So the idea is, you don't want to waste time. And, for instance, if you're pitching yourself to somebody as, I want 2 kids, a white picket fence in the suburbs, and I just want a really committed relationship, but you're going to Vegas, twice a month with the wolf pack. And then you're wondering, gosh, why isn't this working out? We had such a great connection. And then 3 weeks later, nothing's happening. Well, it's because your origin story isn't an accurate representation.
I'm really curious about this quote. I love you because of you, not in spite of you. Can you kind of explain what that means? I love that.
Well, yeah, that's something my amazing wife Michelle said to me. And it's funny, it dovetails into something that my acting teacher used to always say. And he said, that deep dark secret, that thing that you carry around with yourself, that you think if anybody ever knew it, you would be unlovable. That's probably the thing that most people would love you for.
So, I love this question as we wrap here, but I love the insights of your book and, the comparison to martial arts. But what would you say is one of your most abundant words in your life that describes perhaps the relationship with your wife, since we are, speaking of her and the writing and everything? What would you say is your abundant word that describes your life with your wife?
Team. We are a team. Michelle does everything really well. I maybe do 1 or 2 things better than she does. And it's only because she supports me to do them.
I love that. And I thank you so much for taking your time and talking to us. This is a very important subject. So thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, that is it for us today on Living Abundantly. For even more content and inspiration, follow us on my YouTube channel, Living Abundantly with Sarah V. And I will see you next time. And here's to living abundantly.
The proceeding was sponsored by Sarah V. LLC.